I want to welcome you all to Navigating the Nonlinear Road to Success. We have Dr. Bobbi Pellant with us today. She's a very dynamic speaker, an inspirational speaker, and I think you'll enjoy today's presentation. And SCORE is very thankful to have her back with us. So we're going to say welcome to Bobbi, but I'm going to first begin with a little bit about SCORE, just in case you're not familiar with SCORE. We are about sharing information with the small business community, and we do that in several different ways. One is sharing of information on our website, score.org. There's templates you can download, videos you can watch, articles you can read, lots of fantastic information. If you haven't been to the website, take a look. The other way we share information is through our webinars and workshops. Most are online. We do have a few in person. There are webinars based through our district and chapter, and there are also national offerings as well. So I strongly encourage you to take a watch for our newsletter, our social media posts. You can also find them listed on the website to see what we have coming. We do have less offerings during the summer, but we have some absolutely fantastic topics this summer, so take a look. The other thing we do is, and the most important thing we do, is offer free business advice and mentoring. And our mentors are volunteers, and they want to give back to the small business community. They come to us with a variety of different skill sets and experiences, some from successes, some from failures, but they want to share that information with you. And we're working with folks in all stages of the game. We're working with those that are trying to decide if small business is right for them. We're working with those that are in that planning phase, and we're working with those that are already in business. And they come to us with many different questions on many different topics, and we can try and we will work to match you to a mentor locally, if we have to, the district level and out to the national level to get your questions answered. A beginning session is going to be probably about 40 minutes, and they want to learn about you. They want to learn what your goals are and what your challenges are, and they're going to work with you to put together a plan. And when you're working with one of our mentors, you're working with the chapter as a group. They will reach back to other mentors to invite them to attend future sessions. They will go for additional information, and their goal is just to make sure that you get the help and answers that you need. So how do I get this mentor? Very easy, score.org. There's a blue box. You can put your zip code in. That will match you to the chapter that's nearest you. Then it'll ask you a couple quick questions, and we'll use that information to help connect you to the mentor that's most appropriate for your situation. So score.org. And that's how you, a very simple blue box to match you to a mentor. So we are going to be using chat today. So it's going to be a little bit more interactive. So definitely put your questions and comments into chat. We are recording, and that recording will be posted in the next 24 to 48 hours at score.org/Boston. As per that graphic on the blue bar, local workshops drop down to previously recorded webinars. So that's where that will be. I'm going to go ahead and pull down my share and introduce Dr. Bobbi Pellant. Welcome. Oh.
Let me just get unmuted. Well, thank you everybody for attending. I'm Bobbi Pellant. Just a little bit about me. I have been an MBA professor of all things business across several departments, most recently at Bentley University for 26 years. But I've also started 7 businesses on my own and sold one internationally, and then had a few of them that failed too. So today's topic about the non-linear path to success is going to be a little bit about failure. It's about resilience. I want to say that this is going to be motivational. It's going to be inspiring. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, so I'd love it if you put in the chat anything that you have or comments that you have for me, and Teresa will jump in and stop me during my presentation so I can answer those questions for you. But first off, I want to see where everybody is coming from. So where are you? I'm in Hingham, Mass currently. So if you could just put in the chat where you are in the world today, that would be awesome. Handsome, Mass. Thank you, Candace. How about others? Cranston, Rhode Island, Martha, Somerville, Andrea. Teresa, where are you from? Cape Cod. Ken, where on Cape Cod?
Oh, it looks like we got one in the Q&A. Stonham.
Okay, Shrewsbury, Yarmouth. Okay, thank you. They're slowly coming in. There might be a little bit of a delay, so keep them coming if you haven't had a chance to answer. And then my second question before I get going is in the description, I talked about success for entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs is somebody that I want to define as having a startup company within 0 to 5 years that they own, that they're just working on kind of getting it going. They might work full-time someplace else and do their entrepreneurship on the side, or a small business that you've been in business, you own your business for 5+ years. So if you could give me a feel for who I'm speaking with, it will help guide the presentation so I can really get specific and talk to those on the webinar. So if you let me know if you're an entrepreneur, if you work full time, and or if you have a small business that you own. Startup in 6 months. Great. Thank you, Thomas. Tech freelancer, trying to get started. Andrea, thank you. Own business for 5+ years and look at buying in another month or so. Thank you, Ken. 5th season. Yep. Ice cream. It pays the bills for the ice cream person who owns the business, right, Candace? Anybody else want to chime in? Okay, if something else comes in, self-employed, photography. Thank you, Martha, for saying that. And if there's any that come in, Teresa, just let me know. Okay, let's get started. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so as I said, success is not necessarily a straight line. It is, most people think that it is, you start at one place and it's a trajectory on the way up. But if you look to the right, success really looks like a messy, squiggly line that sometimes we don't know what end is up. So it's more like a roller coaster than a highway. And this will be the theme about the whole talk today. The reality of success is that it is a mixture of high and lows and unexpected turns. Each setback is a setup for a comeback. And this really talks to the staying power and the perseverance that you need to have either as an entrepreneur and or a small business owner. And Teresa had mentioned at the beginning that SCORE has mentorships and mentors available for you. And many times, if we're sitting at home on our computer, kind of navigating what success looks like to us, it can get to be a lonely place, especially if you have a setback. So I really urge you to sign up with a mentor or get what I call an accountability partner so you can bounce things off of them and have them be your biggest cheerleader when things aren't going right. Now, I do have another question for you because the word success has came up several times in my talk, and success means different things to different people. And I'll speak to that in a moment. But if you could put it in the chat and let me know what success means to you. And Teresa, if you just want to shout out a few, and I'll go into my spiel about what success looks like to me.
Making a difference in the community.
Okay,
Love that one.
I love that one. Success. What does that look like for you? And what does that look like for you, your entrepreneurship goals and or your business? Pretty quiet out there.
Building a thriving business for myself, employees, and my customers.
Okay, so thriving, I don't know who said that, but I'm assuming in the terms of financial and growth would be one definition of success. Anybody else?
Having the resources to be in control of my time and doing work that I love.
Perfect.
Stability and profitability in business.
I'm waiting for one more that hasn't been touched on, but if we don't get to it, I'll speak to it. So for those of you, because there's a few of us on here and we only had about 3 or 4 answers to the question of what is success in your mind, I really want you to take some time after this presentation and write down what you want. Because you can't have a goal and if you don't know what success means to you. So I can speak about success and I can speak about how you get from point A up and down and that roller coaster ride to having success in your business and in your entrepreneurship journey. But you need to get very clear and very specific on what that means like to you. So many times it's financial freedom. That's a big one that I hear in my consulting practice. It might be the time you like the idea that you can make your own hours. Community give back and making an impact is also another one. For me, after I retired from being a professor for 26 years, I wanted passive income. I wanted to make money without working as hard as I did. So passive income and less time in front of the computer meant success to me. Other times for people, it can mean titles or accolades. It could be selling a business. It could be writing a book. It could be starting a podcast. It could be gaining 100+ customers on your list to sell your product or your service. So don't forget about the more specific the goal you have when it comes to what success looks like to you, the easier it will be for you to navigate through some of the hurdles and the nonlinear path to get there. But let's continue on. So I love talking about failure. As a matter of fact, I did a TED Talk titled I Want You to Fail. I did an experiment for my MBA course many, many years ago that I failed, and I let them know ahead of time. I failed everybody in the midterm, and they all freaked out because grades were dependent on it. And I let them know that don't worry, they would have a chance to make it up. But no matter how hard they studied, no matter what they did, they were going to fail. And I designed the test that there was no way that they could pass. They had all the information, but they weren't thinking about it in the right way. So, what I was trying to get them to do is they had the goal to pass the test. They took the test, they took the presentation. The end result was failure, but through some feedback that they talked to me about, they could start their goal again. And what happened was is I gave them another chance to take the test to do the presentations. So when you're looking at something that doesn't go your right way or you feel like you failed at something, they are not stop signs. They are not complete roadblocks, but change your mindset and shift them and realize that this is just more information and a lesson learned to provide you feedback. And those of you who depend on sales, to sell your product or services, remember that every no, which can be a harsh word to some of us at some times, brings you that much closer to a yes. So I don't know the age demographics of the people on the webinar, but I'm reminded of an Ariana Grande song called Thank You Next. And so whenever you hear a no, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Thank you next, because every no brings you closer to a yes. So if we look at these obstacles or these roadblocks and we turn them into opportunities, they can help spotlight our areas for growth and innovation. So many times when there's a roadblock or a pothole or whatever you will, when we're talking about this road to success, it's a way for us to get pretty scrappy or creative in our businesses. So when we're forced with this roadback block, we have to become even more creative, think outside the box, and instead of trying to push your way through it and keep on that same path when we're stuck in this traffic jam, I want you to either take a different path to go around it, no matter how far, how many miles outside of that road you have to travel, or I want you to find a way to go over it. Because when you hit something, it's just an opportunity to say, okay, this isn't working for me now, but what will work?
Hey, Bobby, I got a question
Of
submitted.
course.
It all sounds nice, but what if failing is so costly it'll jeopardize your ability to try again?
Right. So are we talking, whoever answered that, asked that question, are we talking about cost? Are we talking about time? Are we talking about ego, that it's going to cost our ego and we're like so ashamed of it? Tell me about how you define the cost is so high.
Money and time.
Money and time. Okay. So I want to just remind you of this fact. Time is non-renewable. You can't get time back once it's spent. So that has a higher cost than money. People need to shift their mindset. Money is a renewable resource. I know it's easier said for me to say this, but I've lost a lot of money in my career. And somehow through perseverance and resilience, I've always made that money back. So if you hold on to the fear, money is a renewable resource. It doesn't grow on trees, but trees are a renewable resource. There's some risk involved, right? So you have to mitigate how much do you want the success and how much are you willing to stay stuck on where you're at. For me, as I get into the latter part of my life and that I'm, in retirement, well, not quite retired now, time is something that I want to streamline. Money is not as important to me, even though it is retirement, because I still have a lot of drive and a lot of creativity in me. So you have to do a risk matrix, whoever asked the question. You have to do a pros and cons. What is it costing me to stay where I'm at now? And I will speak a little bit more to this, but what is more important to you? Starting a business, entrepreneurship, or going back to the place and not moving forward at all or staying stagnant? So there is some risk involved and you have to be comfortable with some risk in a business mindset and in an entrepreneur mindset. So let me go a little bit further on my slides. And then if you still have some questions that speak about that, I'll be more than happy to answer it. So let me talk to you about somebody that we know very well or we've heard of, the success story of Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling wrote this beautiful series of books, or maybe she wrote one at a time, but she had these creative ideas. and she was down to almost being homeless and a single mother, and she was rejected time and time again through so many publishing houses before she became a billionaire author. And her quote is, her rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I built my life. Now, those of you who are on the webinar might say, well, that's J.K. Rowling, but we all know some person that's made it rich. Well, how about if I told you that a friend of mine was rejected by almost 200 publishers before they became a best-selling author, and that many, many years later, this person sold their book franchise company in one day for $65 million. And they were rejected at over 200 publishing companies. And you might say, well, who is this person? I've never heard of them. Well, how many of you have heard about the little known franchise called Chicken Soup for the Soul? Jack Canfield, who is a friend of mine, is the person that sold his business. And he sold the rights and the franchise for Chicken Soup for the Soul. And he will tell you that it was 199, 201 publishing houses before they said yes to his one idea of the original Chicken Soup for the Soul. So if you give up, if you think that you don't have the time, if you feel like you don't have the money, you will probably never be successful in what you want your goal to be. Now, let me have a little disclaimer here. I am not telling you to spend all your life savings and have your rock bottom become your foundation. This is just where she was in her life. But I want you to say that if you are passionate about what you want to do, and if you have that belief in yourself to do it, then please continue on and realize that money is a renewable resource. And I think it was, I can't remember who put it in the comments, but somebody was working full time while selling ice cream on the side to maybe fund a business that they're thinking about starting. So there's ways to go around it to continue on that path. So resilience is bouncing back stronger after a perceived failure. I know for me, my mindset is when somebody tells me I can't do something, I will do it, even if it's on a bet, just to prove to them that I can do it. And not only prove to them, but actually prove to myself more so. And if you think that that is something that everybody says, I actually joined the military and I signed up for 6 years of reserves on a bet because somebody thought that the way I looked, the way that I handled myself, the way I was young, I was 18, that I could never go through boot camp. And this is about the time Private Benjamin, that movie, was coming out with Goldie Hawn. And I was so mad at people doubting my abilities that I did it just to prove to not only them, but myself that I could do it. And I'm proud to say I'm a 6-year veteran. So it's a stubborn refusal to quit, to keep going, and to prove your naysayers wrong. So the secret weapon, if I could tell anybody about some of my successes in life, and I'm sure some of yours, was the ability to adapt and change and be flexible depending on what's the trend in the industry that we're in. So success, we have to be willingness to change. I want you to think of that ebbing water flowing. Be strong and be that tidal wave when you need to, but yet ebb and flow and recede when need be. So let me tell you 2 other personal stories. I had said earlier that I had sold a company. I started a company on Cape Cod called Bambusa Bamboo Products with a friend of mine who had her master's in art. And here I am, this MBA professor. And if you can tell, I come with a very aggressive personality. And she's tended to be more introverted, quiet, very, very creative. She was, I say, the brains of the um the idea, and I was the business. And we would have to go in and pitch the product ideas to Trader Joe's and Amazon and all of these people. We actually even pitched for Shark Tank, if you can believe it. And we had to learn to work to with each other, because sometimes, depending on who we were pitching to, we needed a little bit of a gentler approach. And then other times, depending on who was in the room, we had to come on full force and kind of be strong and learn. So I want you to be able to adapt to what you need to in the time. If it's like, if you need money and you're looking for investors, you can't be that quiet, introverted person. You have to come across as very strong and assertive. But other times, if you're hearing no and no and no, it might behoove you to kind of sit back, be a little bit more introverted, and listen to the reason why you're being. And that's where the feedback loop comes in. Another story that I think almost everybody on the call can relate to, is when we all had to adapt to COVID, right? So COVID for me was a way for entrepreneurs and businesses to have the business world leveled on an international scale, and that everybody was pretty much starting from scratch because we were shuttered, we were losing customers, we didn't know the future of our business. And so where most people were panicking about how they're going to get their money, what how they're, going to use their time wisely, I actually started 5 businesses, because I'm like, what better time to start a business and to come up with some creative ideas? And believe me, I am not a creative person. And fast forward a year later, when some of the restrictions were trying to be lifted, 3 of those failed horribly, and 2 were very successful. And then after the next year, 1 dropped off, and I'm still working in one of the businesses I started during COVID. So look at this, and instead of looking at it as a downfall or a devastation to business, which I'm not saying it wasn't, it was for many of us. We lose clients, businesses were shuttered. However, how can we adapt to it and say, what does the world need now during this COVID pandemic? And that's what I tried to do. I tried to adapt to the circumstances. One of the best things that I love talking about is to overcome that fear of failure. So the person who answered me the question, the fear of the high cost of losing money or the high cost of time. So if I come back to you a year from now, a year will have passed. We can't get that back because it's a non-renewable resource. But what I'm going to say to you is, what are we going to do in this year's time? We could do nothing and continue on that path, that that same path, and hope and dream and want to get our business up and running, or want to get more customers, want to retire, want to make more money. We could be in the same place we were today, and or we could lose some money along the way, but you might be more determined to make that back plus some. So failure is only permanent if you don't try. If you're stagnant, you will never know what success looks like. And this fear of failure will keep you stuck. And that's why people don't write their book. That's why people kind of give up after 11 people of publishers that failed them. They get rejected so often. And this is a physiological response. So, for those of you who are afraid of failure, I want to tell you it is real. A Harvard study said that that feeling of dread that we get in our body only takes like 1/100th of a second to get into our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system. But that same feeling can stay with us the rest of our lives and keep us glued to the ground because we don't like that feeling. So when I use the example about failing my students and then having them succeed several months down the line, once you get used to that feeling of dread, you become almost immune to it, so your risk comes becomes a little higher. You become a little bit more confident in yourself. You realize that failure is just temporary, like success might be, but we kind of become acclimated to the feeling in our body, and we realize it's just a feeling. I have to take that back. Unless a bear's chasing us, right? That our life is on the life is on the line. Then we might have, that feeling for a long time. But I'm talking about the fear of taking chances, the fear of risking something, the fear of losing time or money, or even our ego. Sometimes it is our ego that holds us back because we're so ashamed of something that we did and we tried and it didn't work. But I'm telling you, in my TED Talk, I talked about my biggest failures on a stage of 1,000 people. And I don't know how many people have watched it since then. But if you can overcome that and realize that there's nothing to be ashamed about, you can go far. So, cultivating a growth mindset, talk to you a little bit. Progress is progress no matter how long it takes. It is a forward motion. You've heard that term, one step at a time, two steps back. And growth and comfort does not exist together. So step out of your comfort zone. If you feel that queasiness in your stomach, if you feel that, I don't know if I should do this because it might not be the right thing, that's when I want you to take a baby step towards that uncomfortableness. I want you to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable because the greatest success comes from thinking and these ideas and taking the chances that you might not have an opportunity to take again. This is kind of off script, but I'm reminded by that book, and I cannot think of the author of The Year of Saying Yes, that they said yes to everything that came their way. And I've really, in my coaching career and my consulting career, and even in my teaching as a professor career, I've really never said no to a lot of opportunities. You want me to teach in Poland for the summer? Yes. You want me to do this? Yes. BC wants me for a couple semesters? Yes. And not all of it worked out. But if I didn't take that chance of getting out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't have the experience to know what success meant to me. Any questions before I go on to the next slide?
There are no questions.
Okay, I'll keep going. And if there is, please just put them in the chat and I'll address them right away. So, tips to bounce back. So, what happens when you have a failure? I want you to reframe the narrative. Think of it as lessons and not losses, and realize that if you don't take action, if you just state what you're doing now, it is considered not a success. It might be even considered a failure to some. I want you to take some calculated risks. Do the pros and cons exercise or the risk matrix that I talked to you about. What is the risks involved if I say yes? And what are some of the cons if I say no, or vice versa? The bigger risk you take, the bigger potential reward. Action will beat inaction anytime because you can't move forward towards your goal or towards your success unless you take that first step or that second step or until you run to that next goal that you have set. Adversity. Innovation, some of the best ideas come when your back is against the wall. Think of when maybe there was a time when you were younger, or it might be now, or it might be sometime in the future, where an unexpected maintenance car payment, car maintenance bill came in. You have to rebuild an engine, and you are down to the last $100 in your checking account. So you sit there and you think, should I put it on my credit card? Well, maybe my credit card's maxed out. Maybe I can get a part-time job. What do I do? And you come up with all these creative solutions. And eventually, 9 times out of 10, that bill will get paid and you'll figure a way to get what you need to have done. So these limitations really can breed creative solutions. I mean, we had for the bamboo company that I had, we had a distributor overseas just take off with our product, and we had nobody else lined up. We didn't have a plan B to get our product to all of these other wholesalers, and we had to be really scrappy, even to the point that we were going to go down to this Caribbean island and rent a car and deliver it ourselves. We didn't have to do that, but we just did a planning session that we threw everything on a board, no matter how crazy it sounded, and just started going through like what's going to work and what do we need to do, because we were not giving up that region for our products and services and risk losing those customers because we couldn't deliver the product in time. So I want you to redefine the word fail. Do not think of it as negative, but it is the first attempt in learning. We all started from the beginning. Some of us, we had a quicker trajectory and then also a quicker downfall. And some of us might be on that roller coaster and we, haven't celebrated some of the smaller wins. But I want you to remember that you haven't failed, as Thomas Edison has said. You have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So go back to that drawing board and try to get creative. And like I said, if I can do it from that business analytical, and I'm a very linear thinker, there's many years I did not think outside this business box. But through my experience, the more offhanded, out of the box, crazy thinking that I do, the more successful my efforts are to move forward in my business and in my career.
The yes book, is it the year of saying yes, or is it because there's a couple?
I think it's a year of saying yes. If you just Google it, it was by somebody who for 1 year, they did not say no to anything, no matter how crazy it sounded, no matter whatever opportunity came in front of them, as much as it felt so uncomfortable for them, they just said yes. And it changed their life. It shifted the dynamic of their mindset. And it turned out to free them from this limitation of their ego of being afraid of certain things. It might be skydiving. How many people could stand in front of an audience of 1,000 people and give a speech that you're just handed the topic on in 5 minutes? How many people could do that? Or would you be frozen in fear? I don't know if anybody's answering, but or how many people are
I don't
afraid of
have.
public speaking in front of a large audience because you're afraid of failing or sounding weird or forgetting your lines or whatever it is. This person said yes to whatever they were afraid of, basically.
I have a yes. That
Yeah.
sounds scary.
um, so I want to also talk to you about the importance of persistence. I have done so many things in my life, and I have been up and down and around. I've worked across industries. I've started businesses. I've worked for corporations. I've worked overseas. I've just done it all. And people sometimes look at me like I've bounced all over the place. I'm kind of flaky. I don't know what's going on. I've never really settled down. But for me, it was very important to be persistent because I could say corporate's not for me. This isn't for me. I'm going to try to do a TED talk. Did I like it? Yeah. Did I care if it made a million views? Not really, because I could just kind of check it off my list and realize, okay, yes, I've been a public speaker for 26 years as an MBA professor. What's the difference doing it on a stage of thousands of people? So success is about falling 9 times, but getting up that 10th time. If I didn't start 5 businesses during COVID, I would not be in the Business Success Institute today, working for myself and having other people work for me. If you keep on going, statistics and actually physics say that persistence guarantees that forward growth is possible. And therefore, if you're growing linearly moving forward, some results are inevitable. They might not be the big results that you want to see immediately, but one step at a time. Mentorship, supportive network, no one, no one succeeds in a vacuum. And if I could say that early on in my career, that was probably my biggest mistake. I thought I could do it all. I didn't need help. I could learn digital marketing. I could learn coding to do my own website. And you can until you can't. And once you get to the point in your career that your time or your business, your entrepreneurship, your time is more valuable, you will start delegating the work to other people. I recognized fairly early on that while I had the capacity to learn website coding and doing all this stuff and digital marketing and Google Analytics, I didn't like it. It took me longer, and that I was worth a higher hourly rate to work for other people than to work for myself. So I started hiring people part-time to do the work that, number one, I didn't want to do. I wasn't necessarily fast at it, and they were less expensive than what I would be charging a client. That being said, when you're building a supporting network, whether it's a small team around you or you outsource people or you have people that work for you in your business, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be very protective and be careful of your space. If you have somebody that's coming in not really loving what they're doing or loving the job or loving the marketing or loving entrepreneurship, you'll start to feel that energy on you too. So I'm always reminded of the quote by Rumi: connect with those who fan your flames so you burn brighter, and don't hang out with people who try to diminish your flame or snuff out your flame, because you will never get to your end result unless you have great supportive people that are fanning your flame. A vision of success. We talked about this. What is success to you? Understand what your desires and your needs are that will pave the way to true success. So I want to talk to you once again, and I want to bring it back to my career choices. And early on in my career, when I was getting my master's, after I got my master's degree, I got into med school. I was a scientist by nature. I worked in cardiac rehab, and I loved all things medicine. And I was teaching kinesiology at the University of Minnesota. And a friend contacted me and she said, can you step in and teach an organizational behavior class in the business department? And I said, listen, I'm in the kinesiology department. I'm in med school. I don't know anything about whatever you're talking about. And she said, the professor had a heart attack. Just read the book, follow the everything, your PowerPoints are done for you. Just work on this chapter and we'll figure it out. I taught one class as a substitute. I fell in love with business so much that I quit med school and I got into a leadership program for my doctorate. And the reason at that time, my reasoning was, if I just looked at it from a purely financial point of view, I would have stayed in medicine. However, what was really important to me at that time was having a family, having some summers off, being a stay-at-home mom, being that soccer mom. And the way to get to my success, the stepping stone was to get to my success was to be a business professor that I could teach a few Monday, Wednesday, Fridays during the day when my kids were in school, have my summers off, have my holiday vacation. So by knowing why you want what you want and what determines success for you, having this clear vision can unlock very new knowledge and new solutions. I missed the scientific part of it, but I kind of got that fan flamed through research. I could still publish. I could still do my quantitative and qualitative analysis, when I did some, when I wrote books, when I did some publications. So really narrow down and figure out what and why you want this success that you have. Feedback. I want you to be very honest about your constructive feedback from your significant others, your spouses, your friends, your children, colleagues, competitors, customers. By seeking feedback, it really helps us benchmark and to determine how to overcome missteps. So benchmarking is not paving the way through this road. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, somebody's already traveled down this road in front of you. So instead of trying to pave a new path, why don't you look to see what they've done? Go on the road that they've paved as far as you can, then maybe pave your own path a little bit and then go back to the path. So don't reinvent the wheel, if you will, when you're looking at business. Seek out people who've been there before and ask them what worked. What's your best strategy for me? What didn't work? How can we do this differently? So I've done both. The bamboo company, we were the first in the world to come up with this idea, to market this product, to come up with this service. And that's the company that after 8 years we sold internationally. I've also benchmarked off other people's that I've kind of cloned a business idea, but I've made it my own and maybe did a little different pathway that they have. So depending on where your mindset is and how much time, energy, and money you want to put into it, you can kind of have a combination of both or take the road that's less traveled. I would always say, save your strength, your energy, and your money and try to benchmark others who've been there before. Celebrate the small wins. We sometimes can't get to the goal as quick as we wanted to, but I want to tell you that every small win brings you closer towards your goal and to your success. Take the time to recognize your achievements. Even if it is getting somebody, a customer on, and they said maybe. It might not be a yes, but it's definitely not a no. So there's still potential in celebrating a small win. The first book that I've written, I think now 9 books, and not all of them have been business. 4 of them have been international bestsellers. The first book I tried to write took me like 6 years to write it. The last book that I wrote that I did not, it's not published yet. My publisher gave me 90 days, 90 days to write this freaking book. I got it done. So it doesn't matter if you do it in 9 years or 90 days. The biggest thing I want to tell you is every step of the way, celebrate what you did. And for me, that 90-day book writing, I had to write X amount of words per day. And as soon as I got to that number, I'd either keep writing or I'd stop for the day, check it off my list, and celebrate with a cup of coffee or walk on the beach or whatever I needed to do because I know I met my goal for that day. Positive thinking. It's really important to stay positive when faced with a challenge. When one door closes, you've heard this, another one opens. Look at the bright side. Thank you, next. It wasn't meant for me to be. Many times that door is closed for a reason, and the universe or somebody's redirecting you to look at something different. Embrace the journey. Many people think it's a race. No, it's not. It is considered and call what we call life. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Measure success by the depth of your failures rather than the speed of the achievements. Wow. Measure your success by how many times you have failed and how hard you've fallen on your face rather than how fast you've gotten to get to the end. That's called gratitude, my friends. The road to success. Each and every one of us are equipped to navigate this nonlinear road to success. I want you to start today at where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. If you look at this picture on the screen and you'll see the difficulties, mistakes, obstacles, failures, map it out. This is what goals look like. And for me, I love physically writing my goals down on a piece of paper, and there doesn't give me any bigger satisfaction to cross that off and go on to the next one. So you can start with success in mind and what that looks like to you, but then I want you to reverse engineer it. And if we start with today, and then we have our success on where we want to be, you have to reverse engineer it and put some road marks on this linear time frame. And we're going to do it linear because we could do it crazy. I just think in linear. And I want you to write down goals to get you from point A to point B. And you have to start there. Lastly, for those of you who stayed with me through this, I really appreciate it. I want to give you something. I don't know if as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're using something that has been near and dear to my heart since it came out. It's artificial intelligence and some prompts to help you with your business journey and your success journey. So I'd love to have you go to robertapellant.com/AI prompts /. It is a guide to help save you time and money, to help you with your marketing, to help you find out who your customers are and where they might be hanging out, to maybe get you just one step closer to what success looks like to you. So I want to say thank you very much to all of those who are coming and who have stayed here. And if there's any questions about anything, I'd love to talk to you about it a little bit more. The URL, I'll put it right in here, Martha. I know it by heart. It's a free guide for you to help you on your success journey. Manat. Oh, thank
Oh,
you. Yes, a little bit inspirational, a little bit motivational. I'm saying, I talked to you about and getting you going and saying you can do it. I could have talked to you for this past hour about my biggest mistakes and my biggest perceived failures in my life. And believe me, I've had a lot. But I want you to realize that you're not alone in this. Any failure that I've had, I can find five other people that have had that same failure. So you're not alone in this journey. Please reach out to me if I can help you. Banki, you're most welcome. Come by and I'll buy you an ice cream. I don't eat ice cream, but I'll come by and say hi to you anyway. Oh, and by the way, please connect with me on LinkedIn. We talk about SCORE as a networking for mentoring. Let's all connect and support each other where we can.
okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Oh, she just pointed out they have non-dairy.
I know, I saw that. Thank you, Candace, Thomas, Andrea, Brian. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. You can do
Thank
it.
you, Bobbi.
Oh, the end of the
Oh,
URL. Let me put it down one more time. It's AI prompts, and it's just a /.
here we go. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Teresa,
Bye.
for having me.
My pleasure. Bye.